Hello, hello everyone. Okay, welcome to our latest edition of Ragic Office Hour, where I'll answer all your questions about Ragic. And let's get started. First one, okay, is it possible to add a notification with sound? Okay, I'm guessing that you're referring to the desktop notification that you receive, like when you receive the notification under this bell here. And in fact, this notification have sound. If you have sound on your computer, it should play a sound when you receive a new notification. So yeah, I think we already have sound for this bell notification here. So if you're not getting any sound for this notification, well, first make sure that your computer is not muted and you're able to receive this kind of desktop notification. And yeah, if you still cannot hear any sound for this, just use the need help button and let us know a little bit more detail because yeah, in fact, we should have sound for our um, notifications, desktop notifications. Okay, next question. Let me drag this. Make the text a little bit bigger. All right. Okay, when using mail merge with Word or oh, just a second. I think the screen is cut off. Okay. When using mail merge with Word or Excel, is it possible after setting up the mail merge template to send the attachment as PDF file and not as Word file? Yeah, we have heard about this quite a few times, and yeah, and this is on our to do this, and yeah, it's technically there's quite a lot to do if you want to automatically turn a Word and Excel file into a PDF file on the server. So we're still finding a more efficient way to do this. Yeah, we do have this on our roadmap, and hopefully we will get this done maybe this year. So currently you'll need to generate the PDF from the Office document manually, but we hope to add this automation, like generating from your Ragic records, but it's just a little bit more difficult with Office documents. All right. Next question. Is there a way to automatically send a daily or weekly copy of my DB backup to my Google Drive? Huh. If you're referring to the whole DB backup, technically it's not impossible, but currently we don't have a feature to do this directly. So okay, so the short answer is no, we don't have a feature for you to send daily or weekly backup to Google Drive, especially since a lot of a lot of databases are really big, like hundreds of gigabytes. So if you send your database backup to your Google Drive on a daily basis or even a weekly basis, your Google Drive will it's gonna use up your drive space rather quickly. But if you're determined to do this, it's still possible to do some of this. Mm, well, there is this feature where you can send records to your email on a daily or maybe weekly basis, like this schedule report function. It's under when you're under the listing page, click on tools and schedule report. So you can schedule a report, and you'll be able to send a report of the data of the whole sheet. So it's gonna send you if you choose no view and records of all time, so it's gonna send a report to you. You can only send up to 5,000 records per report. So you can schedule a report to send to you daily or weekly with this schedule new report feature to send records if you don't have a lot of records on your sheet. And you can configure this kind of schedule report for as many sheets as you need. Yeah, it's gonna be very unfeasible for us to create a automated backup where it sends to your Google Drive or your cloud disk space if disregard of how many records you have on your database, because it's just not gonna work really well. So yeah, if you have sheets with that you have important data you would like to back up on a daily or weekly basis, and it's not over 5,000 records, you could kind of use the schedule report to send you a backup of the sheet on a regular basis. And that will be by email. It's not by putting the file in your Google Drive directly. But if you send it to your Gmail, it's kind of to your Google Drive. And of course, if you call our HTTP API, that's kind of another way to do that. If you can code, you can just call our HTTP API to retrieve your data on a regular basis. Or use our HTTP API to automatically All right. Okay, next question is trigger JavaScript workflow from selection field. Okay, question. Okay, is it possible to call a JavaScript workflow when selecting a certain value in, for example, a dropdown by entering certain value in the field, or when formula reaches a certain value? Okay, I think what this user means is that you would like to trigger the JavaScript workflow before you save the record. Because when you save a record, there's two JavaScript workflow that it can trigger. First of all is the pre-workflow, where it kind of checks if this is a valid entry against the data in your database. And the second one is the post workflow. It's to be automatically executed after a record is saved. So there are generally two types of JavaScript workflow to be executed when the record is saved. So yeah, so when selecting a certain value, right now, this is, unless you have turned on the autosave. If you turned on this autosave, if you turn on autosave, it's gonna save when you make any changes to your sheet, and when the sheet makes that kind of changes, it's gonna call the pre-workflow and a post-workflow. So it's possible to do that with autosave, but that also means that before each, after each field is edited, there's gonna be a save executed on the record. So it could be used to look up certain data you only want to display under certain conditions. Yeah, if you only want to display, then currently, yeah, without saving the data to the server, right now it's not gonna trigger any workflow. Showing via pre-workflow is too late for us as the user is already saving the data at the moment. And the action button is also not suitable as the user does not know when to push the action button as he does not know the criteria. Yeah, I understand what you're referring to. So, it probably means that you would like to trigger an action. You would like to trigger an action button on change, and when the user makes any changes to a field. Maybe that if we support triggering an action button when the user makes changes to a field, that could probably work. But it still depends on what you would like to, what the action is when you're executing this workflow. If you're displaying a message, or if you're putting a value on another field. Okay, so you would like to use it to look up certain data if you want to display. So it's kind of like you're displaying a message. Okay, yeah. So if it's too late on the pre-workflow, then I'm sorry. If the action button would not work in this situation, because if the data has not been sent to the server, if it's not saved to the server yet, so the action button, even if it can be triggered by a change event on the field, then it's still not going to work. So yeah, currently it's not possible yet, but this is certainly something we could look into in the near future. Okay, so if our development team were to try to make this work, then it's most likely gonna, yeah, you probably will choose a field or all fields to trigger this workflow when the user makes a change to that field. And I think it still depends on what kind of action that you would like to do on the workflow, because mostly the workflow, they either like display a message or they make changes to the database, or on the pre-workflow they can block the user save. But on this type of workflow, for me right now, I can only think of it to either display a message or return or make changes to the record that you're currently editing. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of planning on how this feature might work. So we may consider having a workflow being triggered. Oh, workflow that can be configured when a field value changes. And it can either display a message or change the record, change the field values that the user is currently editing. Okay. Yeah, we might do something like this for this new type of workflow. Yeah, we have heard this a few times, and we do imagine that this could be helpful for the user when they're making the edits to the data. So we might call this an editing workflow. Let us know what you think. Record edit workflow? Yeah. Okay. Oops. Okay, next question. Is it possible to reverse the updated field automatically when the record is deleted? Okay, that's your example. For example, if we create a sales order and create the quantity, this is a little bit wide. Let me just kind of change this. Okay, good. For example, if we create a sales order and enter the quantity that updates the stock level to decrease the value in another sheet and then deleted the sales order or edited, the updated field of stock level should reverse the previous update to increase back that value. I think it's logical that this feature exists. I think it exists. Otherwise, value won't be accurate in the database. This is normal that users forget to update manually every time they delete or edit a record that has linked field to other sheets. Okay, yeah, when you're creating an action button with the update value on another sheet, and it's gonna generate two action buttons. So one of them is to update the value on another sheet, and the other one should be to reverse that action. So by default, it's gonna create a reverse action button. So this is probably the action button that this user is referring to. So the reverse action button is already available. It's just not automatically executed when the source record is deleted. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that could be something that we can think about in the future. Something to configure. Yeah, wow, today is mostly about, feature suggests. But I think this could be something that technically we could do this. We could just check if there's a reverse action button every time a record is deleted and automatically executed, and create this as a configuration for update value on another sheet. But just we'll need to discuss this a little bit more to make sure that there's not a lot of side effects for this. Executed. A record is deleted. And make this into a configuration. Need to discuss. Okay, and when the record is deleted, it's actually a bit simpler. But if you want to execute this whenever a record is edited, it's even a little bit more complex, because if the record is updated and you would like to execute this again, you would first need to reverse it and then execute it again. So, yeah. To support auto execution when record is edited, it will need to first auto reverse and then execute again. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll talk to our development team on this and see if this is something that we could put on our roadmap. Yeah, each time I make design changes, it's not gonna clear the current filter. I've noticed that on some of my listing pages, when I try to sort on the field, it does not sort. Okay. Maybe this is only happening when the field I'm trying to sort by a link load field from another table. Okay, yeah, I'm not exactly sure about this, because to my knowledge, it should the field should be you should be able to sort a field. No, when it's a linked field or a loaded field, they all should be able to sort. So I would suggest that you use the need help link and provide us with the link to your sheet and the field that you're sorting, and for us to take a closer look. The link. Need help. Link fields and loaded fields should support sorting. Recently? Okay, well, yeah. So yeah, let our support staff know about this, and we'll take a look at your sheet. So there are just a lot of different possible sheet design that our users make, because it's the tool is really flexible. So yeah, it's possible that under some specific type of configuration combinations that currently is not sorting, but usually it's something that we can sort out. Okay, if you use the send mass SMS feature, can you get replies? I read 4 articles I could find on SMS feature in Ragic. Where can I find more information on this feature, specifically receiving responses from the text? We have missing data that we need to gather from clients. In the past, we've used text blast to gather this information. Is there another way to accomplish this through Ragic that would be secure and private for each client? Okay. Technically, I'm sure that we can receive the response if the user replies to the SMS text themselves. And I'm sure that if the message is sent by email, then when the user directly answers replies to the email address that is in the reply to address on the email sent to them, you are able to collect the response like right here. On the record, there's an email icon. And when you have responses or you have sent email from using this record, it's going to show up here. And the whole conversation will show up here like the UI on Gmail. So, but I'm not sure for SMS. I don't think it's supported for SMS yet, but with email, I'm sure it's supported. But with SMS, I'll need to check if this is something that we can add. Okay, so receiving response from client reply using email is currently supported, but SMS, yeah, I think it's not currently supported. It's not supported yet, but it's something we can add in the near future. Yeah, because I was just looking and discussing our SMS API, and yeah, we are already receiving responses from the text on our server side. Oh, I think what the problem with this is that when we receive a response, we don't know which record that this response is for, because like when you send out email SMS blasts and like for 100 records, and when you receive a response, you don't really know which record that this user is replying to, unless that on this SMS blast, the mobile phone number on that sheet is unique. So then we could probably, determine by the sender's mobile phone number and decide which record it's referring to. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we don't have this yet, and the main reason is that we're not really sure which record that this user is replying to. And with email, we have an easier way to solve this, because we have a different email address for each single record. We have if you ever use our Ragic email features, you'll notice that we have an email address for all of your sheets and every single record that you have on your database. So when the user replies to an email address, it can either create a new record on a sheet, or or the response can be saved to one record on Ragic. Okay, so for the SMS, yeah, this is something we can add in the future, but note that it can probably be configured on sheets with unique receiver mobile phone numbers. So we know which record the reply is for. Yeah, and you could you'll probably even you can only probably have one single sheet that does this on your Ragic account, because if you have multiple sheets, then receiving the response, wow, receiving the response, we might not even know which sheet or even which account that this is replied to. Yeah, we'll need to we'll need to we'll need to discuss this a little bit more, because the biggest problem would be to identify which record this is, and currently the user is replying to one single phone number, and it's technically like impossible for us to create unlimited phone numbers that can receive these SMS messages. So yeah, or maybe we can in the future we can add certain types of configuration to these messages so that we know which record that this user is replying to. Okay. Yeah, so by going this through my head, I think the biggest problem would be to, on our server, when they receive an SMS message reply, we don't really know which account, which sheet, or which record the response is for. So if you have any good ideas on, how to tell, or if you're a developer and you have some ideas or have some experiences with dealing this kind of SMS message text replies, feel free to let us know. I'm sure our developers have some idea, but okay, next question. Create folders on hard drive. Is it possible to get Ragic to create a folder whereby the job that has been booked can be linked to a folder on my computer for additional info artwork? Okay, so by a job, it's probably a record on Ragic. We're a printing company, and basically we want a folder to be created once a job is booked on Ragic, so we can upload documents, artwork to the corresponding job. Okay, if it doesn't really need to be a physical folder on your computer, it's actually really easy to do on Ragic. You could just create a file upload field on Ragic, and file upload fields, they can support multiple files, and it can kind of work as a folder on the record. So yeah, if the user can just download the file from Ragic, this is kind of really convenient. So you create a job and you drag and drop multiple files into the attachment field and the file upload field, and it works as a folder for a job. So on Ragic, we usually would recommend using it this way. And technically, there are some security issues on your computer that would prevent Ragic from just creating a folder on your computer. So because that would be violating quite a bit of security policy. So what we recommend is to use a multiple file upload field as the folder on your job. Multiple file upload field on your job record as the folder. For creating folders on your computer, there are security restrictions that keeps Ragic from being able to do that. Okay, yeah, it's technically, unless we have another like desktop application that's installed on your computer solely for this purpose, then yeah, then it's due to security restrictions. We're a cloud-based software, so it's very hard for us to do anything directly to your computer hard drive. Yeah, and if you like, please do let us know, like, why do you must have this data on a new folder on your computer? Because when we're designing this type of multiple file upload field on records, we do feel that this could be a replacement for this kind of usage scenario. Okay, next question. Copying date or text field using formula. I have a question for the end, if there's time. Yeah, there's time. Is there a formula that supports copying a value from an independent field into a subtable field? Yeah, I think we could do that. We could do a short demo on that. Wow, finally something I can demo and answer without saying, we'll design something later. I can't find a formula that automatically pulls a ship date on an order from an independent field into a subtable. Okay, let's do this. Okay, test subtable formula. Okay, so the independent field. So the independent field is here. Some other fields. And we have a subtable. Subtable record ID and formula field. So that's it's actually quite, generally it's quite simple. We could just, if you're referring to like some other field, and you could just write the formula A2 here, and it's gonna retrieve the value from this field, I think. So when you're creating this, so Jeff, I'll need more fields though on the subtable so that the system will know that this is actually a subtable row that we would like to create. Text, just some text. Okay, so we could just say, let's say my name and some text entered. So the formula will automatically retrieve the data from the single field, and when you enter another row, new row, it's going to retrieve it there. Another row, more rows. Okay, something like this. So in short, you could do a formula like this, referencing the independent field that is not in a subtable. Okay, a formula like this. Let me do a screenshot. You can refer to non-subtable fields in a subtable directly, like the below screenshot. Directly with a formula like the below screenshot for it. Okay. So you could just say A2 and this field will automatically populate the value here whenever you create a new row on the subtable. Yeah, if it's a ship date, it's gonna copy the ship date there. Okay, next one. How to prevent subtables from creating lines if you edit in the form page. Okay. Check if there's a chat. Okay. When I created a subtable and created a sheet from subtable, every time I would try to edit one field on the main form page, the subtable will automatically add new rows. It calls new fields to create as blanks in a new sheet from subtable and stop letting me autosave. It is supposed to happen because I have to manually delete these blank rows every time I make an edit. Okay, well, first of all, for this kind of question, we'll need to take a look at the sheet design that you have, but I can tell you about the basic rules that we have for determining if a subtable row is actually a row, because on my on the sheet what I just demoed, there are times that the system will think that this is not a subtable row that needs to be saved. So the general rule is, I'll type while I talk, and the rule for determining a subtable row should be saved to a database is that the subtable row, it needs to contains at least one field, which is, first, it's not auto-generated. So like what I just did, there's an auto-generated field. It's not gonna auto create a record for you. Not auto-generated, not a formula field, because a formula field will always automatically create a value. So it doesn't necessarily mean that does not necessarily mean that you want to create a row there. And third, not a default. Does not have a default value. Yeah, I think this is the three main ways that we determine if there is any field on the subtable row where it's kind of manually entered, not just automatically generated, and these three are the most common automatically generated value types there, and if all the fields on the subtable row is either auto-generated, a formula field, or a default value field, and you have not manually entered any values, then the subtable row will not be saved to the database. So for Carissa, there's probably a field that's being populated, which is not auto-generated, not a formula field, and also not a default value field. So we'll need to take a look at your actual sheet and find out that if there's some other rules that we need to add to subtable row so that we can better determine if you actually want to create this subtable row. But this is the current rule that we have. Subtable row should tweak for your subtable. All right. But this is something, good to know when you're designing a subtable. Yeah. So because it's kind of tricky that to determine if you really want to create a row on that subtable. So currently we have this rule. So if it's you need to have at least one field that is not auto-generated, not a formula field, and does not have default value. So basically you have to do something on that row so the computer knows that you want to create that row. You have the intention to create a new row on that subtable to avoid something that Carissa is facing there, to avoid unintentional rows saved to the database in subtables. Okay, that's it for the question for today. And thank you all for joining. So if you have any other questions, feel free to let us know from the office hour question sheet, and we'll be answering your question on our webinar in 2 weeks. So yeah, we'll be having webinars on a bi-weekly basis, and each week it will be on different time zones. So if you're not able to catch the webinar in your time zone, we'll always upload the recording of the webinar to our YouTube channel. So feel free to just ask your question and check our YouTube channel for the answers after the webinar. All right, have a good day and stay safe.